The AllStar app, the #1 app in the business. UFC, Bellator, One Championship, PFL, and more. Get the app right now. Link in description. Throughout the year, you kept training, though. You know what I mean? I try to follow up on what you were doing, and you kept training. Your location was unknown, but you kept training. So, what did you work on?
No, it's not unknown. I
Oh,
moved out
yeah.
of the country. I moved to Batumi, Georgia. You know, for me, the beginning of the year, after that situation, I ended up losing my striking coach. um, yeah, I haven't talked about this in a long time. But yeah, I lost a lot, but luckily, I didn't sit and dwell on it. Everything I lost, I gained even better. I was training very silently. I was training very hard. Wasn't posting much. Even like now, I'm still not even posting much about my training. I'll post more my dog than anything. But the training's been tough. I actually went back to straight basics this year. Like where I live is very good striking where I'm at, and so I went to like just basic beginner classes. I just started over. I was like, you know what? Might not have a striking coach now, but I'm going to make sure I gain something from out of it. So I was traveling, I was going and learning from all these different people. And that's something I love. It's like there's so much knowledge in this world. You're not meant to just stay in one place. Like go out, explore, and go pick people's brains. And that's what I did. I went and I learned straight boxing, straight kickboxing, straight wrestling, and straight jiu-jitsu. And like I was just training all those different martial arts. And then I went back to Vegas over the summer to be with my coach, because I am still with my head coach, Dennis Davis. I love him. I'm still with him. So I went back and I was with him for like 2.5 months, was just training with him. We were just kind of like figuring out when I would be able to fight again. And luckily, I was able to take another fight during the summer, and I was scheduled to fight Tabitha Reese. Had a pull for medical reasons and then medical personal reasons. And so that fell through. I was completely devastated. I was like 6-7 weeks out when I had a pull. And then luckily, after like a month or so after pulling, I was able to take another fight. They gave me another 4-month fight camp. So now, luckily, I'm fighting on the last card of the year. So I'm just so grateful I am able to fight in 2022. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know when I was going to be able to fight, but like God had a plan for me to be able to get one fight in this year. So I'm just extremely grateful.
How was it, getting back to the basics? You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure you said you went to like regular, like beginner classes. People probably saw you walk in that watched the sport, like, whoa, why is she
Yeah.
here? You know what I mean? They're probably shocked, right? What was it like?
Well, I went to this one coach who's from Kazakhstan, I believe. Spoke like no English, and let me tell you, had all amateurs in the practice. And so when I went there, like my very first day I went there, it's snowing outside, mind you. I get there. I show up like 10-15 minutes early for the practice, and this coach it's like, everyone put your running shoes on. You're going outside, you run 3 miles. I was like, what? I was like, run 3 miles. Like, I just got back to training. This is like 4 weeks after my fight. I took like the first 2 weeks off because, of course, I had fight at night. So, like, took some punches. So, yeah, so like I just was getting back to it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be an easy class. Like, it's beginners, a lot of amateurs. No, not at all. Ran 3 miles. I ran with all like their higher level guys. Like they were amateurs, but there were some good guys in the class. Ran with them, get back to the practice, and then it's a 2-hour practice. The 2 hours, the first like 20-30 minutes is a warm up, which the warm up was ridiculously hard. And then I felt like an amateur with them. Then the workout was 1.5 hours, and then the last 30 minutes, you go and you do weight training. I was like, whoa, like, do we get a break? Do you barely get any water in the class? I was just kind of like mind blown. And this coach, his technique was unbelievable. Like, to this day, I don't think I met any other better boxing coach. And the thing was, is I didn't know a word he was saying. I was just having to like look at his body language, and only thing we were able to communicate with was hello. That was about it. But luckily, being a martial artist, I was able to like read his body language and whatnot. So that for me was very interesting. I absolutely loved that. I took his class, which was very hard, like 3 times a week, and then I would hop in and just do straight grappling. Which the grappling aspect was, basic jujitsu. The wrestling was also like everything was just basic. But the hardest thing I would say was the boxing was insane. Like, and I feel like I'm more like of a striker. People don't really know my ground game, but because I came from a striking background, I like feel, you know, I feel like I'm a pretty dominant striker. And then when I was sparring with these guys, I mean, I had amateurs piecing me up, and I was like, this is not like, I just felt like such an amateur again. Like, but it was so nice to feel like I was learning something like all new again. I was like, wow, these basics, like I thought I knew the basics very well because I feel I fight very basic. And no, these people made me feel like from here, like my confidence level went down, and I was like, wow, like I'm very happy I have somewhere where I can like learn and improve and not even just be like, I have no ego. Like I was like getting pieced up by younger amateurs that have like no fights. I was like, wow.
So that was like getting the hunger back then, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Of skill building.
yeah, but also it was hard because I didn't know when I would ever fight again. So like for me, I was just in there, like I'm just gonna take as much knowledge as I can uh, until I figure out my next steps. So I was just doing those classes, and then yeah, just went back to Vegas, went back to my coach, and went back home and kept training. I did actually my fight for Tabitha Reese. My full training camp was actually in Georgia, and so I was having a really good camp until I had a pool. And so I definitely want to make sure that they get some credit for my next fight too, because I was training with them very hard for like 8 weeks. It was actually too hard. It was like one of those camps where I was like having to slow it down. That's what I like about being at the UFC PI is there's people who tell you like when to slow down. Like their thing is just hard. Georgians are crazy. I don't know if you know about Georgians, but they are crazy.
That there's a lot of places around the world that are still pretty old school. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
very,
PI
very
is
old
really
school.
advanced. Yeah.
Yeah, very old school. Like the running in snow before practice. I was like, who does this?
It's
I
like
was like,
Rocky.
I'll
They
go
just watched
run.
the movie. And then
Yeah,
they're
and it
like,
was
let's do
crazy
it.
because that day, my first day, I was like, oh, let me go do like a 30-minute run in the morning to kind of like work out my lungs. It's an amateur practice. No. So I like that night I slept like a baby.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you had the pull from the Tamara Ritchie fight, and then they book you again, December 17th. You're gonna face Cory McKenna. When did you get back into training for this fight? Because you mentioned something about a medical issue. That's why you pulled out.
Oh no, when I got the fight with Corey, I was fully okay. So like
Mhm.
I was training. Everything's fit. Everything is good now.
Okay, okay. Now,
Yeah.
what type of fighter do you see in Cory McKenna?
I see full mixed martial artist. For this camp, I have never watched so much film on an opponent before. Um, I think I've watched her fight against Elise Reed at least 30 times. I know everything that happened from first minute to the 15th minute. And it was a very close fight. The reason why I say the Elise Reed fight is because Elise Reed is more of a striker. And but yeah, I would say Corey is pretty well rounded. Her box, she doesn't kick really. She barely kicks. Her kickboxing game is not really existent, but her boxing is better than her kickboxing. Obviously, she's not scared to throw hands. I see she can definitely wrestle in her ground. You can tell she comes from like a wrestling school because she likes to like what we like to say with my coaches. She likes to cook the beans. She likes to grind, throw some elbows from the guard. Like she has no problem grinding out a 15-minute fight. Her cardio is good. She's young. She's hungry, but yeah, that's what I see in her.
The That's an interesting thing that you just mentioned, that she has no problem grinding out a fight, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're more of like when we watch your fights, it's more of like an exciting aspect, excitement
Yeah,
aspect to it, right? So that's the battle right there, right? Is can you make this fight exciting compared to her?
yeah.
She will try to cook the beans, like you said.
1,000% I can make it interesting though. Like I'm really happy to be fighting a wrestler, first of all, just because of my UFC debut. Uh, um, but second of all, I have no problem going in there and like talking to her like in the fight, like, is this what you really want? Do you want to be known as like my last fight with Mallory Martin? All week she was in my ear at the PI like, oh, we can have fight of the night. And then as soon as she shot a takedown, I was in her ear. I was like, girl, let go. I was like, you want to make money? I was like, this is not how you make money. So like, it also kind of plays mind games. But I don't, for me, it's not even so much the mind game. It's just like, I literally am put in that cage to make money. I mean, I don't care about anything else besides going and feeding my family and my future family. So that's why I'm here. So for me, I'm like, I am fighting with like everything I have in me. So if someone just wants to grind it out, like, cool, I understand you want to get the win. But for me, sometimes I just want to like, I want to be like a Donald Cerrone. Like, I want to be interesting. I don't want to be known as the girl that's in boring fights. And unfortunately, that happened in my debut. I was injured. I learned a big lesson from that, and since then, I feel like I'm doing well. I've been off for 1 year, and I'm just hoping that I look better than I ever have.
It's your chance to like gather that momentum again. You know what I mean? You had the momentum,
Mm-hmm.
and if you would have came back early next year, you could have built off of it. Now, you know how
Mm-hmm.
fighting is. If you're not fighting,
Mm-hmm.
people forget
Yeah,
about you, right?
easily,
And this is your
easily.
chance to get the momentum back, to remind them about what you did last year.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just here to get some respect on my name. I mean, I have respect on my name in the fight game, but I just didn't want them to forget about me. I'm still here. I'm still in this game. I feel in my training right now, I'm the best I've ever felt. All that matters though is just putting it all together December 17th and getting my hand raised in dominant fashion.
I was watching another interview, and you mentioned that you trained with Jessica Andrade's team, and they have a few fighters in the
Yeah.
UFC. How was that whole experience?
Oh, I love those girls. Maria, I don't know, Maria, I'm having a glitch on her last name. Um, we have Jessica Andrade, we have Jessica Delboni, which she's awesome. I'm actually still training with her right now. Maria went back to Brazil after her fight with Crystal. Who else? Carol Rosa, who's a beast. Dee Gomes, she's also a beast. Yeah, so those girls, let me tell you something. If you ever ask them, whenever I train with them, they just go 100% all the time. And I had to learn that with them. I don't do that. I'm very actually more of like a technical person because like for me, I have so much fights and experience that I know like when it comes to the fight, I'm gonna like go 1000%. So in my training, I try not to like, if we're going technique, I go technique. When it's time to go hard, it's time to go hard. But if you say you're going to go technical, then we're going to go technical. And I'll go super light and I'll move around. No, no, these girls, no, no. Well, we'll be like warming up doing technique, and then I look over and Maria's sparring with Carol Rosa, which Maria's a 115er and Carol Rosa's a 135er. They're full on fist fighting, and the coach is just laughing, and I'm like, listen, guys, we are not in the favelas or in the whatever you call it. Um, but they just love it. They just love going hard like that. Like that's them. But whenever they go with me, they go super light, and they always say, "Cheyenne's our friend. Cheyenne's our friend," and I'm like, yes, yes. But it's very interesting. I love those girls. I'm still training with one of them right now, and she's been helping me out for this camp. But yeah, I absolutely love the Brazilian team. I'll always have their back whenever they need. I'm back at my gym at Extreme with my coach, so it's really hard to train with them right now. But if they ever need anything from me, they always know they can just ask.
You were in Vegas years ago before you moved to South Africa and all that stuff happened, and then now you're back, and that was even pre-pandemic, before the UFC PI was even there, I believe. Now you're back in Vegas. How has the landscape changed with so many fighters in Las Vegas now, with the gyms just packed full?
Oh, well, I was in Las Vegas. I moved there 7 years ago. I was 20 years old when I moved there. And when the PI opened, I want to say I was 21 or 22. I want to say 22. And I was going there since the first day it opened to train with Claudia Gadella, We had like wrestling practices there with some of my teammates. So like I was going there already a few times, and from then to now, it's changed drastically. Like this week and like last week, the PI has been so packed, and just seeing all these fighters, it's really nice energy to be around. But the PI is definitely a special place. They really do so much for us, and I always tell them every day that they all deserve raises, because without them, like, I don't know if half of us could even make it to the fight.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it's just like even with like the diet and all the stuff
Yeah.
that usually fighters don't pay too much attention to, the PI
Hmm.
takes care of all of that because
It's
you
the
are in
little
Vegas.
things there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
they're amazing.
And what do you expect out of yourself? You've been working on so much, you know what I mean, for the past year in your skills. Like, what do you expect out of yourself?
I just expect me to be Cheyanne Vlismas. I just expect me to go out there and just breathe and just have fun. Like, for me, that's all that matters, is if I go out there, I'm doing what I love to do, first of all. And I love to be violent. I love to have fun doing it. And yeah, I just, for me, fighting is a very mental thing. So, and I seem to always have my head tuned in when I go out there, just putting it all together. And, but yeah, I just want to go out there and be me.
You and Corey are the prospects of the division, and it seems like you guys are like right there on the verge.
Yeah.
It seems like this fight might determine who gets a crack at a top 15 fighter. Do you see that?
Oh yeah, for sure, 1,000% I do see that, and I have. I try not to think about it too much, because for me, I don't look at anything past my opponent. Corey, I have to get past Corey first. So for me, yes, I have seen that, but also at the same time, I don't really care about the top 15. I just care about beating up Cory McKenna. So after that, then we can talk.
And you're in Vegas, and the UFC, they banned gambling for fighters and coaches, and then now this whole scandal's happening. I don't know if you're paying attention to it, but
Yeah, I am.
what did you think
I
of?
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody is, right? Everybody is. Everybody's captivated by it, right? And what do you think of this whole situation? You know what I mean? Do you feel like
Uh,
it was bound to happen, something like this?
I personally, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, I feel really sorry for James Krause. He's not a bad person. Um, but yeah, that's a sticky situation. Kind of messed it up for all of us. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really think too much of it. I've never bet big money before. I like to throw $100 here and there, and I mean, I guess the only thing is I always do parlays, and I never really win big. So I guess their UFC is saving my money for me. And also, I'm also told now I can't gamble anymore. Before the situation happened, I was told I'm gonna stop. So, yeah, it's a sad situation, of course, because it's like, for fighters, this is our only income, fighting. So like, to go out there and like throw a parlay on someone and earn a chance to get some money, like, that's nice. Like, but also at the same time, for me, it's kind of like, okay, we can't gamble, but you guys don't think we can't tell a friend to go throw money down. So it's also for me like, okay, people are gonna figure out ways to go do it. Um, so it's kind of like, I don't know. I just hope it doesn't stay like this, but it seems like it's going to.
All right, December 17th, UFC Fight Night. You're back in action. It's pretty exciting stuff. You know what I mean? You've been away for a while. Go in the descriptions, download the AllStar app. Thank you, Cheyanne, so much for the time, and all the best in the fight.
Thank you so much for your time.